This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Today we're looking at the ongoing standoff at Standing Rock in North Dakota, where thousands of Native American water defenders and their allies are resisting the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline over concerns that a leak could contaminate the Missouri River, which provides water for millions of people. The resistance has been met by increasing repression by hundreds of police officers from North Dakota and surrounding states, as well as by unlicensed pipeline security guards who unleashed dogs and pepper spray against Native American protectors on September 3rd. Well, Democracy Now!'s exclusive video report of that attack went viral, was viewed over 14 million times on Facebook, and was broadcast by major outlets including NBC, CBS, NPR, MSNBC, CNN, The Huffington Post, and many others. 5 days after Democracy Now! Released this on-the-ground report, Morton County issued an arrest warrant for me. The original charge against me was criminal trespass. Yet on Friday, October 14th, after Democracy Now! Returned to North Dakota to fight the charges and to continue covering the resistance to the Dakota Access Pipeline, we learned that the state's attorney, Ladd Erickson, had dropped the criminal trespass charge for lack of evidence, but had filed a new charge against me, riot. This is part of Democracy Now!'s live broadcast from outside the Morton County Courthouse and Jail on the morning of October 17th, as I waited to see whether Judge John Grinsteiner would approve the new riot charge. We're broadcasting live from outside the courthouse and jail in Mandan, North Dakota. Water and land protectors, as they call themselves, report facing increasing repression amidst the ongoing resistance to the $3.8 billion Dakota Access Pipeline. Police have begun deploying military-grade equipment, including armored personnel carriers, surveillance helicopters, planes, and drones. North Dakota Governor Jack Dalrymple activated the National Guard in late September. Roughly 140 people have been arrested. Some report being strip-searched in custody at the Morton County Jail, even when they're facing minor misdemeanor charges. This is Dr. Sarah Jumping Eagle, a pediatrician on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, a member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe.
When I was taken to the jail, first I was taken by a corrections officer, transported from the protest site to the Morton County Jail. And then when they took me in there, you know, they had to take some basic information. And then one of the things that they do is have you go into a small room, and there was a female officer there, and we had to take my clothes off, and then I don't know, basically
Cavity search?
No, not a cavity search, but I had to squat and cough. That's what she said. I had to squat and cough and then put the orange suit on.
So you were put in an orange jumpsuit?
Yeah, I was put in an orange jumpsuit, and then I was held there for several hours. And initially, you know, my family didn't know where I was, or didn't, you know, they heard about it pretty quickly, and were able to come and bond me out or bail me out. I don't know what you call it, but I was in there for several hours.
How did it make you feel?
It made me feel, you know, it made me think about, you know, my ancestors and what had they gone through. And this was in no way a comparison to what we've survived before. So it just made me feel more determined about what I'm doing and why I'm here. That's
Dr. Sarah Jumping Eagle, a pediatrician, member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. She was charged with disorderly conduct. LaDonna Braveville Allard, who founded the first resistance camp, the Sacred Stone Camp, on her own land April 1st, says her daughter was recently arrested, taken into custody at the Morton County Jail, strip-searched in front of multiple male officers, then left for hours in her cell naked and freezing before the guards finally gave her clothes to wear. LaDonna Allard says her daughter was repeatedly asked by guards, "Who is your mother?" which Allard sees as an indication that her daughter was targeted because of who she is. Cody Hall from Cheyenne River Reservation in South Dakota says he was also strip-searched after he was arrested Friday, September 9th, held for 3 days without bail or bond, and then charged with 2 misdemeanors.
As I exited out of the vehicles and entered Martin County. I came up an elevator, and as the elevator door opened up, I was met with state police. And then, you know, of course, Martin County people were there to book people, but and then from there started the process of the booking. And then again, you know, went into a private room where they asked you to, you know, get naked. You know, they had my arms. They you know, kind of like a extend your arms out, and you're fully naked, and they have you, you know, lift up your genitals and, you know, bend over, you know, cough. And so it's really one of those tactics that they try to break down your mentalness of everyday life, because not every day do you wake up and say, hey, I'm going to get, you know, naked and have somebody search me today, you know. That's a private, you know, that's a private feeling for you, you know, when you get naked. So.
And 4 days later, when you were finally released, they hadn't allowed you to go out on bail or bond for those 4 days. You came before a judge in the orange jumpsuit?
Yes, I sat in the court office in my orange jumpsuit, locked, you know, still, you know, handcuffed, exited out of the courtroom, and as I left the courtroom, there were 20 or so state police, all in their bulletproof vests, everything, just looking, you know, like you know, like they're going into action of some sort. And then they literally had a line from the courtroom to the door that connects you to the county jail. And my mother walked out with me. And as we got to the door, they were opening the door up, and as I looked behind me, my mother and I, all of the cops then proceeded to kind of swarm, you know, like make, you know, that big wall, you know, as I entered in, which was again an overkill, you know, but that too, though, to show a dominant force. That was Cody Hall, who was arrested on 2 misdemeanors, held for 4 days, strip searched here at the Morton County Jail just behind us. Well, for more on the resistance to the Dakota Access Pipeline, the police crackdown, we're joined by 2 guests. Winona LaDuke, Native American activist, executive director of the group Honor the Earth. She lives and works on the White Earth Reservation in northern Minnesota. And we're joined by Tara Hauska, national campaigns director for Honor the Earth. She's a Ojibwe from the Cochiching First Nation. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Winona, let's start with you. We have spoken to you intermittently through this resistance. Where does it stand now?
Well, as far as we are in, I mean, I'm just looking at the big picture. Right now, there is about 900,000 barrels per day of oil coming out of this state, and they project that into 2019. And so what I'm trying to understand is that if that's all they have, and it's already going out, why do they need another pipeline of 570,000 barrels of oil per day? In other words, they're already meeting all the demand. For the next 2 years, that's all the oil that's in there. And this is really what we call this is the Dakota Excess Pipeline. The Dakota Excess? The Dakota Excess Pipeline. This is really about spites. It's really about spite.
What do you mean?
It's just really about hating. You know, it's just really about trying to put some in across these tribes. It's exactly what the chairman and you said before. If they wanted this pipeline so damn bad, they should have put it north of Bismarck. You know, and they should not have violated the law. The whole pipeline was approved through something called the Nationwide Permit Number 12, which means they could cut it into a lot of little pieces and never do an EIS and pretend like, you know, that's intended for like if you have like a pipeline from a school to the water service center or something like that. It's not intended for a 1,600-mile pipeline. Total misuse of the law, you know, and the president really needs to intervene and uphold the law.
Tara Hauska, you have been following these protests and the level of militarization in response to the protests. You were there on Saturday. We spoke to you at one of these peaceful marches of hundreds of Native Americans.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this incredibly militarized response from North Dakota that has been so over the top in reaction to Native Americans peacefully protesting, praying for the land, praying for the water. These are women and children that are out there. I mean, we saw the most recent one on Indigenous Peoples Day. They had Native Americans out there praying for the land. They put a teepee up in front of the actual pipeline route, and they called that a riot. There's nobody there rioting. They're doing that as North Dakota is doing that as it's increasing the amount of militarized response, militarized force. They're calling in other sheriffs from other states. They're upping this incredible amount of police force for no reason.
Well, all for this pipeline. Winona, who profits from this pipeline? Who owns this pipeline?
Well, Enbridge, you know, we just spent 4 years fighting Enbridge. And Enbridge and Marathon Oil just bought a third of this pipeline.
And you fought them in northern Minnesota.
We fought them in northern Minnesota, and in August they announced that they had canceled the Sandpiper, which was the 640,000 barrel per day oil pipeline, pipeline from here, fracked oil pipeline they wanted to put across our territory. We defeated that pipeline, and they came out here and moved out here. But, you know, I think that the whole context that you're talking about is really important. This is pretty much the deep north. That's what it is. Nobody's been paying attention to what's happening in North Dakota. They've been flying over it, hopes it work out for y'all. And in the meantime, Indian arrests have been consistent. There's no infrastructure. Native people are treated like, you know, third-class citizens. You know, suicide rates, everything's going on. And, you know, the governor's acting like this is Mississippi up here, and you can just do that. And now people are finally noticing. But it's been going on for a long time up here. And this is, you know, finally a flashpoint where people are saying that's enough. We're not going to let you take our water. We're not going to let you destroy that which is ours.
You know, after Ferguson, the whole country saw the level of militarization of local police departments. You were there, Tara, where there was an MRAP. There's a armored personnel carrier at this peaceful protest where you offered the police water, clean water, right?
We did. You know, Indigenous women went up there and we offered the police water, sage, and sweetgrass. Yep. And, you know, trying to show that we are peaceful, that we are doing this for not only our children, but their children, too. This is a people issue. Water is a people issue.
What inspires you most, Tara?
I think it's incredibly inspiring to go out there and to see, a line of police like that and an MRAP. And, you know, we've seen sound cannons, there's helicopters flying overhead. And there's this little group of Native American people and their allies that are out there standing there defiant and, you know, trying to defend their people and their land.
I want to talk about this issue of strip searching. Winona, it is astounding to hear that even people like the pediatrician for Standing Rock, Dr. Sarah Jumping Eagle, was strip searched for disorderly conduct. Is this typical?
I would say that generally North Dakota is not good to Native people and is really behind the times in terms of constitutional and civil rights. You know, I mean, for many, many years, our people have had an undue burden of the legal system against it, and nobody has really paid attention. I mean, the ACLU, for instance, American Civil Liberties Union, had one person that covered both North and South Dakota. A little understaffed, I'd say. You know, and that's how things develop like this. But it's wrong. It's wrong.
Do they have a right to strip search people for disorderly conduct?
I think that this state is reading the law as broadly as it can when it comes to violating the constitutional rights to free speech of these people. I think that they, just like Winona said, they have a very long history of treating folks in this manner, and it's now just kind of coming to light, right? I mean, we're seeing yourself being, you know, as a journalist, being arrested when you're out there on the front lines. You're seeing Shailene Woodley, a famous actress, that's out there being arrested as she's filming it, live streaming it, back to her, you know, RV. I mean, this has been happening to Native people in this state for a very, very long time, and it's just now reaching the mass. You know, people are looking at this saying, here's a Native American ceremony, and there's hundreds of police officers with a militarized response behind them. It's madness.
Why do you continue to resist with this level of force against you, a raid against you?
Because this is what these folks are standing here for, what I'm standing here for, is the protection of water and the protection of the future generations. That matters more than any, you know, criminal trespass or these, you know, attempts to suppress and keep our voices down. You know, we're seeing the police represent and protect a company interest more than human beings and people. These are U.S. citizens that are all here standing together, and seeing their rights violated, seeing young children afraid of the police, that shouldn't happen, but it is.
That's what people were saying to the police on Saturday when they lined up all in riot gear with the MRAP, the armored personnel carrier. They were saying, who are you protecting? Why aren't you protecting us?
They're clearly protecting Dakota Access. You know, they're protecting this profit interest over people and saying that we're the danger.
The system's gone totally rogue, is what's happened. I mean, you know, the fact is that you should not be protecting. How far are you going to go with this pipeline? How far are you going to push these people? How far are you going to push all of us for these pipelines? You know, it's way too militarized. It's called a mine-resistant armored personnel carrier. That's what it is, an MRAP, a mine-resistant. At what point did you need a mine-resistant armored personnel carrier in North Dakota?
And seeing, I mean, local schools doing, you know, lockdowns when these protests are happening. We saw that emergency alert, which is typically reserved for an Amber Alert for a child that's been taken, for protesters, warning in the area, it's frightening people.
Well, this is just
like
started,
we're somehow
hasn't
scary.
it? On Saturday, we kept getting on all of our phones emergency alert, and then it would say something like protesters in the area.
Yeah, they're totally trying to demonize us, is what they're trying to do. And the fact is that the people that are out here, you know, are trying to protect the water. They aren't making any new water in North Dakota. And this is the only water we got, same water as when dinosaurs were here, and this is what we're going to need to drink, and our descendants are going to need to drink, and all our animals, our horses, all our animals need that water too. And this is a chance to protect that water. North Dakota's already done enough to kind of mess up the water out here with all that fracking waste and starting to pretend that that's working out okay for us. It's not. It's time to stop. It's time to stop and protect the water.
There are a lot of people concerned that this is escalating to a very bad situation. Are you concerned about this?
Yes, I'm concerned that they are escalating it. The police are who's escalating it. Our people have consistently been praying. Our people have consistently engaged in nonviolent direct action. And, you know, we had a forum in Bismarck this last week, and it was very well attended, because I think people in Bismarck want to know why all these cops are out there, what is going on, you know, why these people are coming in here. So, you know, I'm saying to people of Bismarck, people in North Dakota, we're here because it matters. I'm from northern Minnesota, and bad things happen in North Dakota and head my way, whether they're pipelines or emissions from your coal plants. You know, affects all of us. So, you know, it is time to say our civil rights, our constitutional rights are all being violated.
Winona, you're leaving here in just a few hours to go back to Minnesota to fight another pipeline?
That is right. I also have to say hello to my grandchildren and my children. They've been asking me to return. But, you know, what I would say is that, so we're facing this other line, Line 3, it's called Enbridge Line, 760,000 barrels per day of tar sand pipeline proposal. Same route. You know, we defeated the Sandpiper, which was proposed, a brand new pristine route, as opposed to the 6 pipeline wide aging pipeline infrastructure in northern Minnesota that goes around across Highway 2. Enbridge now wants 760,000 barrel per day pipeline called Line 3, and it's their single largest project. So I'm going home. Hearings are starting on that. So I have to face that. And you know, that's the one that's going into Wisconsin. That's why Dane County was also out here, is because they're facing the biggest pipeline, tar sands pipeline ever. It's a twin of that. You know, and they're and with the bad governor in you know, doesn't want to protect the people of Wisconsin. That's why he sent those people out here too. But they are projecting they're going to have a big battle on that line 66 going through Wisconsin, as well as in, you know, northern Minnesota. You know, and I told Enbridge, I had a meeting with them. I said, we know how to camp too. We know how to camp too. You know, and we aren't going to let you get that pipeline. You know, they didn't get the last one. They didn't get the Sandpiper, and they're not going to get Line 3. And so they should move on. Enbridge itself, you know, big investor in this, they have a $4 billion wind portfolio. I'm like, put some wind up. We'd like you. Do something real. Don't call this energy, you know, security, national energy security for the future, energy self-sufficiency. That's a pipeline. That's not helping anybody, except for those oil companies. Wind, solar, efficiency. These houses out here are just freezing in the winter. People freeze to death because they don't have adequate infrastructure in their houses. They got a 50-year-old health clinic. Do something for people if you're going to invest out here.
Tara Haskell, what is it like to be on the front lines of these protests?
When you're out there, you are in a very rural place. I mean, North Dakota is a very rural state, and there's very limited cell service. There's very limited connection and connectivity to the outside world. And when you're out there and you're facing a, you know, line of police that are armed with assault rifles, there's an MRAP, there's whatever military, there's helicopters overhead, it is very scary. You think about what happens if someone just accidentally, you know, gets too excited and thinks that somehow, you know, maybe we're praying too hard or whatever it is, and they shoot. You know, that's how it feels when you're there. And the police are a scary presence. It's not a comfortable feeling to know that you are actually afraid for your life from the police because they're protecting a pipeline and they're protecting the interests of Dakota Access. It's a very scary feeling, and it's one that I think more people need to be aware of, and they need to understand that we've reached a point now where we've got a state actively and openly protecting the interests of big oil, and we've got a Congress that's directly controlled. There's so many campaign donations that come from big oil, and we see a Congress that deregulates the oil industry again and again and again.
That was Tara Hauska, National Campaigns Director for Honor the Earth. She's Ojibwe from the Cochiching First Nation. And before that, Anishinaabe activist Winona LeDuc, co-founder of Honor the Earth. Well, only hours after that broadcast, I learned Judge John Grinsteiner had refused to sign off on the riot charges against me, a major victory for press freedom. But since that victory, protesters and journalists have continued to get arrested in North Dakota. More than 400 people have been arrested. When we come back, we'll be speaking about the increasing repression against the resistance to the Dakota Access Pipeline. Stay with us.